Hey everybody, it's a beautiful November morning here in Central Texas and I'm out in my workshop. Today I thought I'd make some axis deer antler rings, and this is a small axis deer antler that I picked up. And this is not going to be an actual how-to video, but rather it's just going to be a few short clips and maybe an occasional picture or two of how I do the process. In an effort to keep this video a little bit shorter, I'm going to play most of it at a faster rate of speed. Here I am just kind of making sure the antler's large enough diameter to hold the ring inserts, and I just kind of eyeballed the general thickness I was going to need. Next we move on to the bandsaw, and you can see here I'm getting ready to cut the antler. And the antler, if you ever work with it, it has a really foul odor to it as it heats up as you're cutting it and sanding it. So luckily it was a pretty day, so I was able to keep the shop open. There's the little wedge that I cut off. Next, we're going to put something in the lathe that would be called a waste block. Typically, it's just a cut off scrap piece of wood from another project. And we need that to have a flat surface, so we're going to face the surface off here. And the next step would be putting the piece of antler onto this flat surface with double-sided sticky tape. And this is slowed down to real speed. This is the actual speed, and nothing more satisfying than getting some nice, clean, thin, fine shavings and cuttings coming off whenever you're doing some turnings. A nice sharp tool helps that. And that was at real speed, and I'm turning at about 1700 to 2000 RPMs. Now we're speeding it back up again, and I'm just, once again, just kind of making sure that I'm going to have enough material to hold the particular ring insert that I'm using. I was making several of them this day, so I could have gone with a smaller one if I needed to. This is part of the drilling process. One of the steps, you drill out the initial inside of the material you're using, and then you start actually hollowing it out the rest of the way to the ring size. And this is a small homemade tool that I've made, and just starting to take some of the material out. Again, this is at a faster rate of speed than what it actually is. This next clip we're going to move into, it's going to be real speed, and I'll just let you watch that for a minute. As you start getting close to the size of the ring insert, you've really got to start taking just some small amounts of material off, just basically just barely shaving any material at a time. And you'll do this several times, and just kind of, as I've heard some guys say, you need to sneak up on fitting the ring insert in there. Once again, that just means taking very small amounts off. It's always easier to take material off, and it's next to impossible to put material back on once you take it off. Getting really close there, so the next few cuts are going to be real light cuts again. There you can see that double-sided sticky tape real good. And this material, for those of you who do wood turnings, this is very similar to what they would call a box scraper for turning parallel interior walls in ingrain wood. And there we go. We got a really good fit for the insert. Okay, we're going to speed the video back up a little bit. So this is much faster than real time, obviously. You have to rough up the surface of the ring insert, so the super glue that basically is what you're using to attach the ring insert to the inside has some grooves to hold on to in that metal. And this is a special mandrel made for ring turning. And I've glued the insert inside the antler, give it time to cure, and then now we're just going to start rough turning it down a little bit. Again, this is at faster speed than normal, and I'm using a flat skew more as a negative rake scraper. And turning's the fun part on this project, so let's slow back down to some real time and move in a little closer so you can see it a little better. I cut out all the audio because I had the radio playing in the background and there's some different songs playing, so the background noise was kind of distracting, so I just went ahead and took all the audio out of the original videos and everything. So otherwise, this is kind of some neat sounds to listen to whenever you're turning down. You start to get some thinner material. Sometimes the material will actually start to hum and vibrate a little bit, which is not a good thing, but it can be pretty neat to listen to. And here I'm just starting to, once again, as I say, sneak up on the final width of this insert and ring material. And here in a minute, I'll switch tools and you'll be able to see the stainless steel ring insert really starting to show up good here in just a second. And there you can see the insert inside the antler material. Again, that was all in real time, and now let's speed it up. Between the final turning and this step right here, I sanded from started at about 120 and went all the way up to 400. And now I'm applying some super glue finish with a rubber glove on my hand. And once that dries, I'll sand that one more time at about 400. And then I will go through a process of sanding, wet sanding, as you see here, with what they call micro mesh. And that will go all the way up through 12,000 grit, which 12,000 grit almost feels like a piece of notebook paper. After I finish this wet sanding process, then it's pretty much done, but I'll go ahead and still take a small buffing wheel and some buffing compound, and I'll buff the antler material one more time, and then I'll also buff the inside of the ring insert just to clean it up a little bit. And that's a super quick view of the process of making those antler rings that I just made this past week for all my hunting buddies and their wives. And here's a few final pictures of a couple of the rings. If you're still with me watching this whole video, I appreciate you watching the whole thing. And if you have any questions or anything, just reach out to me and I'd be happy to answer them.